Hi, everyone. How are we doing? Okay, great. So, haven't fallen asleep from snacks yet. That's good. So thanks so much for having me. It's really great to be at a UWC, to be involved in it for so long as well. Just wanted to share a little bit today about my experience coming from UWC into what I'm doing today, right? Which is very much what many of you have also gone through in the ideas of becoming a social entrepreneur, what it takes, what to do, and what to look out for. But just to add on a little flavor to the context of what you're studying, just want to give you a flavor of exactly what is actually happening out there in Asia when we talk about social impact. There's a lot of good things out there, but really today, we're really at the crossroad at figuring out how do we do impact respectfully, with dignity, and innovatively. And we're trying to figure out a lot of things where it's a nascent industry. Everyone's trying to figure out what is good, what is not so good. And we've got to talk about the good, the bad, and a little bit of the ugly. The interesting thing about now is that there's so much interest coming into the space. A lot of people are pouring money into it. But really, my job here isn't to tell you that there's so much opportunity out there. And it's not about telling you that impact investing is going to change the world of social entrepreneurs. But the fact is that it still depends on who you are as a social entrepreneur to make the next big thing happen. It's not about the money, right? So I just want to share a couple of experiences what we've been doing in Asia. But to start off, I think, let me just start by saying, I've had absolute privilege of being part of different nonprofits and charities. And for many years, for example, I've been on the advisory board for education nonprofit. And, as I sit there for the last 6 years, I can tell you with certainty that in 6 years' time, we're going to be around. The organization's going to be pretty darn good. It'll be there. But I can't guarantee a couple of things. And the first is this. I can't guarantee that in 6 years' time, the kind of impact that you're doing today, will it be as strong tomorrow, or at least the same? It's really difficult. It's really difficult to secure. Why? Well, what we've been doing wrong for the last many years, at least within our part of the world, and then I think many other charities with a bit more of a conventional view, is that for many years we thought, hey, we had a $20 million budget. Let's go out there and raise $20 million. And then we raised that for the last 5-10 years. And at some point, someone woke up and said, hey, we have $20 million, the same as we did about 10 years ago. Actually, $20 million isn't the same as it used to be. There's this concept called inflation, right? It's just not the same anymore, right? There's no bang for your buck anymore. The $20 million before, not the same today. That's the first. The second of all is, when we first started the journey of the charity, $20 million was also on the basis that everybody was salaried at a level where they were living on the passion more than really on the salary. At some point, somebody's going to realize that and they decide, well, okay, I need to actually have a decent life. I need to keep going. And for a charity or for an organization, the most important thing isn't just about what you're doing well. It's also about the people you're trying to support. Are we supporting the caregivers? So those people started leaving, and then there was another problem after that, right? So it wasn't a bang for your buck, and then after people started leaving, and then what else is next? Well, what else is next is then you were not thinking long-term. Then suddenly your evolution of the organization was slowing down, and you were not long-term in thinking about what's next as well. And suddenly many of them were diminishing, not just in terms of the budget, but also in terms of the impact. And that's a real challenge in itself. So hopefully I'd like to leave you with a couple of points today about what it means to be doing proper and hopefully thinking about what it means to be doing impact. Can we do that a little bit more? We're not at that stage yet today where we can say that, well, I think this enterprise is doing a little bit more than that. We're not asking you to quantify it either. But I would say that as future social entrepreneurs, can we say we can go that extra mile to do a little bit more, right, in your business? So there are a couple of interesting things that, in my experience, I've learned. Do we get the slides? The first is actually it goes all the way back to when I was in university in East Timor. In East Timor, what we did was econometrics project with, and I was helping my professor, Brad Ender, in Monash University in Australia. And he's a fabulous guy. And one of the interesting things we found was, it was a beautiful country, lots of opportunities there with coffee. If you don't know, there's a lot of East Timor coffee that goes into many blends in the world. Like, well, anybody? Yeah? And, one of the interesting things about East Timor coffee is, of course, they're all done by mostly small farmer households. Now, at some point, an organization said, hey, we wanted to help our social entrepreneurs. So what they did was they actually bought them these machines called pulping machines. It's a manual pulping machine. So what is it? So coffee comes as fruit, and inside there's a bean, right? You put it into a pulping machine, you take off all the flesh, and you get a bean. Brilliant thing. That's what you basically roast. Now, the interesting thing about that is, reason for doing that is the thinking was, if we could actually increase the revenue for the farmer, what would we need to do? So you actually create a value process for them. Because if someone bought in the market just the fruit with the pulp, it costs less than if you gave them the bean. But the interesting thing about that is we found, actually, the people who were being given these pulping machines, right? They were actually the people who were closest to the market. So what does that mean? It meant that the people who are actually getting these pulping machines, one of the benefits of the pulping machines also is that it helps preserve the bean, because when you start transporting it at long distances, the flesh and the pulp actually start to rot. So you don't want to bring it to market looking really bad, right? It gives you a very low price. It actually helps if you actually pulped it. But the people who are actually going out and giving these pulping machines were only giving it to the people nearest to the market. So the people who really need it were really far out, very far away, right? And when we first met them, the first thing they said to us was, hey, that's great stuff we're doing here. These pulping machines, we're making them get more money. And through the studies, we found that actually they were getting less money. They were getting less money because when they start pulping these fruits, they actually have good beans and not so good beans, poor quality. And when you start mixing the two together, it becomes a problem because your price of the coffee actually goes down. So when you think you are actually helping them, you're actually getting them less money, because poor coffee by itself would just drop the price completely. So my message on that is, we think sometimes we're doing really good with things, but the question is really, are we making that significant impact, right? And the second of all, when we look at impact investing, is that, one thing is this: money is stupid. Doesn't mean anything. If you're not using it for the right reasons, you're not going to get the effects you're looking for. Now, why is that? Now, I'm the impact investor here. I'm telling you that actually I'm not that most important person out there. But actually it's true, because smart solutions sometimes need not cost. And if you're looking to be a social entrepreneur, what's more important is what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and what you're trying to achieve. So one of the things that we found, for example, many people are talking about education. It's very, very important for all of us, right? But in fact, what we found is that if you're trying to make a difference for someone in a school, the real actual results you get isn't about how much money you're spending on the school building, on infrastructure, on textbooks, on pedagogy. It's actually just teachers giving feedback in the classroom. And if you look at the diagram behind me, it's actually the least cost-effective, it's the most cost-effective of all the different things that people are trying to do. We have a world today where we're chucking so much money into education, and yet results are just getting diminished all the time for some countries. And we keep asking why. Well, the easiest answer is that smart solutions don't cost. It is exactly about finding the right solution for the people. The other element then we go on to is this, right? Be transformative. What does it mean to be transformative in that sense? One thing that we don't support for the social impact sector, at least for us, is we don't support, say, a buy one, get one free. right? So if I bought this pair of spectacles, somebody else in India or China will get a pair of spectacles. Now, why is that something that we don't support? Well, there's an opportunity right there. The question is, you know, in Africa, for example, you know, when there was so much aid that went down, there was this charity mindset that was created. Now, in the same regard, why would you have a business where I buy one and I give a handout on the other? Now, there's a lot of research on this, but it needs to be drummed down because still, today, we have social enterprises coming up to us saying that we're a social enterprise. What do you do? Well, we, you know, have this product. We have one sandal here. You buy it, and then we'll give a pair to somebody else. So the question is this, right? When I was in East Timor and walking around, there'd be kids who stick out their hand and ask you, right, can I get a sweet? And then I was fiddling in my pocket. And then the other kid came up and says, actually, I prefer USD. You mean US dollars? Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't have that one. You know, that's not the mentality we're looking for. A transformative experience and transformative impact that we're looking for is this. If you are trying to solve homelessness, for example, one of the biggest challenges with homelessness is that I think in the UK, found in the 90s, that about 50% of the people who were rehoused actually came out of being rehoused. Even though they had a house in their name, they decided not to, partly because of mental illness, partly because there were some challenges with paying the rent, and the other bit was because of the fact that they didn't have a support system for living at home. So most of them actually leave the house, even though they're gifted one. And the interesting thing about that is, if you are trying to solve it, and I gave you a house, person got the house, and they're going to move out immediately, what's the point? What the interesting thing you have with, say, Australia is an organization called Mission Australia, where their main goal is about resettling people, giving them back the dignity, and helping them with homelessness. Because it's not just about having a home, it's also creating a support network. It's also making sure that someone's looking after them if they have a mental disability. And also settling them, helping them look for a job, and at the same time, ensuring that they are going to the job successful, preparing them for the job, giving them tips, and teaching them, you know, how it is in terms of their job skill set as well. So it's not easy. Being transformative isn't just about giving. It's not charity, right? And that's what a social enterprise is also about. It's not about charity. It's about how we change people's thinking about it. So last of all is another point on trailblazing and taking lead. For us, if you are choosing to be a social entrepreneur, there are a couple of things in mind. It's a not easy ride, I can tell you that, right? It is always a new way of doing things because someone hasn't done it yet. You know, if you're trying to solve homelessness, gambling issues, even down to poverty, the challenge with a social entrepreneur is not just having a good business, but also a good business that's targeted towards making sure that you're creating an impact that you're looking for. So let me give you this final takeaway. I'm slightly biased. This wonderful lady, Lucky, from Sri Lanka, I work with her on the board. We do a company in biomass. And in biomass, it's actually one of the dirtiest words out there. You cut a tree down, you burn it. That's it, right? Probably not the most sustainable of them all. But in fact, what we did was looked at a barren land piece like this in Trincomalee, where the post-conflict area of Sri Lanka, how we can change that landscape from barren land to something like this, where you're growing trees, the specific tree which grows very quickly, and you can use it as a light fence. What happened was she decided that when she first started, let's try planting this tree, because supply is a big issue in, say, Sri Lanka. Everybody basically told her it can't be done, right? So, you know, biomass, everyone's tried it, it's not going to work. And she said, well, no, that's not right. Doesn't make sense. There must be a better way. And she went out, and she found that actually this tree is a really good source of leaves, highly nitrogenous leaves, which you can use as organic fertilizer. So the core of it is, how do we take this branch, right, and make it into a biomass material that we can supply for energy? The part where it gets fascinating for her is that she decided, well, it's not about telling people, I'm going to buy something from you. I'm not going to go there and tell you, plant this, therefore I grow this. What she actually did was she went there and she went to schools and she taught kids about what it means to be an organic farmer. Why actually using inorganic fertilizers are a bad thing. And the reason for it is it was good for them. If you grew this tree, it is good for you. And that's the most important part about it. She decided that if you knew why you were growing this tree, it's specifically for you, that wouldn't matter to a business. Because we go to you and ask you, grow this tree, take off, you can use this as a live fence. It keeps out, the elephants from trampling into your garden. The other bit is grow another layer of this, and you can use it for firewood. And at the same time, the leaves are, for your organic fertilizer. And the great thing about that is then we tell them, and we don't tell them at any point in time, we're going to actually buy this from you. Why? Because it's such a low-cost product. If this farmer decided to grow only this one product, this one tree, they will be, in the long run, killed by it. They will actually be earning less in the long run than actually being uplifted in their lifestyle. So what happens is when they come into the program, you actually have to have at least 2 or 3 different crops to be part of the program. Why? Because it's better for the soil, and it's also better for the environment because you are using organic fertilizer at the same time. So for her, one of the biggest takeaways was also the fact that when she first decided that she had to buy these sticks, so everybody told her, you can't do it because you need to actually give them cash immediately at the door. And we said, no, we want to bank these people because they've never been in a bank. And how do we do that, right? And so when we went to them, it was about creating the trust and telling people that, trust us, work with us, and we'll want to help you at the same time. Because when you are on this program, the first and foremost of getting the extra revenue is not just to help your family. We're going to bring and channel more revenue to helping educate your kids. So my last point to you before I leave is this. All this happening out there, the new ways of doing good social entrepreneurship, and there are also things of people trying to do good but not ending up doing so. It's not an easy ride, but it takes time, and it takes time to prove your concept of what you're trying to do. Lucky took almost 6 years to figure out this before she actually had a working model for an investor to come. And what is great about her experience is that because of all these roadblocks that she's gone through, she's actually made a much better organization from those brick walls. She sees a challenge, and then she goes and develops another way around it, and it can be even better. So for the budding social entrepreneurs, I hope this is something you can take back with you, right? That sometimes just because we think we're doing good doesn't mean we're doing it. And that the money is stupid because what's more important is what you're thinking as a solution. That's just as impactful, if not more. Most importantly, be transformational. Don't just stop at saying we're going to make a difference. Go out there and change someone's life. That's what we want you to do. And most importantly, it takes a while, and lots of people are not going to believe you along the way. But I hope you take this every brick wall in your stride and make sure that it brings out something better than you initially thought. So with that, thank you so much.